dark history of nursery rhymes. They sound so innocent. Ring around the Rosie, London Bridge is falling down. Songs we all sang as kids. But the truth is, these rhymes were often never just for children. Many were born from a time when people used simple rhyme and rhythm to remember, to satirize, or to cope with hardship. They aren't always about the grand tragedies, but they are absolutely tiny history lessons disguised as melody. Ring Around the Rosie, the myth of the plague-let. You start with the most famous claim, that Ring Around the Rosie is a secret history of the Black Plague. The popular version goes like this. Ring around the Rosie was the rash. A pocket full of posies was the herbs carried to ward off the smell of death. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down meant the burning of bodies and the inevitable end. The fact check. This is one of the most compelling myths in folklore, but it's almost certainly not true. The Black Plague hit in the 14th and 17th centuries. Historians have found no written mention of this rhyme until the 19th century, hundreds of years later. Instead of a plague warning, the rhyme likely began as a 19th century children's game, a play party. In many older versions, children would curtsy, stoop, or fall down, which was part of the fun of the game. The catchy, macabre explanation connecting it to the plague only became widely popular in the mid-20th century. So, while the idea is riveting, the rhyme is a case where the dark folklore is more famous than the historical fact. London Bridge is falling down. From Vikings to sacrifice, unlike the plague rhyme, the subject of this song, London Bridge, was always in crisis. The history here is real. The bridge really did fall, collapse, or suffer massive damage multiple times across the centuries. It may commemorate a genuine Viking attack in 1014 that literally tore the bridge down. It definitely refers to the structure's constant decay, weakened by fire, weather, and the sheer effort of keeping a massive stone bridge standing for 600 years. However, the darkness lies in the centuries-old folklore surrounding the song's verses about stone and mortar and My Fair Lady. Old legends suggest a belief in immurement, the idea that a structure would not stand unless a human sacrifice was sealed into the foundations as a spiritual watchman. The fact check. While there is no archaeological proof of a human sacrifice in the bridge's foundations, the folklore itself is a genuine piece of history. The tale of the watchman, or My Fair Lady, the supposed sacrifice, lasted for centuries, echoing the fear that an architectural marvel demanded a dark, terrifying price. In the end, whether they're about games, political satire, or true tragedy, these rhymes are survivors. They are memories, warnings, and fears compressed into a simple, unforgettable tune. Not every lullaby was made to soothe. Some were written to survive, to hide pain, politics, or power struggles in plain sight. They weren't always factual reports, but they were certainly coded secrets. Rockabye baby, the fall of a king, take rockabye baby. Sweet, right? But for centuries, one theory has maintained it's a direct political attack on the English monarchy. Historians place its popular use generations after the dramatic events of the Glorious Revolution in 1688. Yet, the rhyme is a perfect allegory for that time. The baby in the song is rumored to be the Catholic heir of King James II, whose birth created a crisis. Rockabye baby on the treetop, the unstable height of the Stuart dynasty. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. The very real prediction of his dynasty's collapse and exile. Whether it was written then or simply adopted later, the rhyme was understood as a sarcastic lullaby, masking a political collapse. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, the Queen and the garden. Then there's Mary, Mary, quite contrary. It sounds like a garden rhyme, but the persistent folklore says it's about Bloody Mary Tudor, Queen Mary I. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Her unpopular attempt to restore Catholicism to England. How does your garden grow? A cruel taunt about her failure to produce an heir. Silver bells and cockle shells are rumored to represent torture devices or Catholic pilgrim badges. Pretty maids all in a row are chillingly said to be her execution victims. The reality is a little softer. While this theory is powerful, the rhyme only appeared in print nearly 200 years after Mary's death. Most scholars believe it's a gardening riddle, or more plausibly, an allegory for the Catholic Church itself. The darkness isn't always fact, but it is memory. 3 blind mice, the victims of persecution, finally 3 blind mice. The famous story links the farmer's wife to Queen Mary I and the 3 blind mice to 3 Protestant bishops, Latimer, Ridley, and Cranmer, who were burned alive for refusing to renounce their faith. The historical secret. This is a theory that makes an emotionally powerful connection. But the earliest version of the rhyme, found in 1609, has different non-political words. It was likely just a simple, humorous musical round. So next time you hum a nursery rhyme, remember this. These songs are mirrors of history. They show us what people feared, what they hoped for, and what political or religious secrets they needed to encode into a song that everyone, even a child, could sing. We've uncovered plague, death, and royal executions, but some nursery rhymes hide something even stranger: the use of coded language to mask terrifying realities. Humpty Dumpty, the myth of the canon. Let's start with Humpty Dumpty. Today he's an egg, but the most famous legend says he was a weapon. In the 1640s, during the English Civil War, one popular theory claims Humpty Dumpty was the nickname of a massive cannon used by the King's men. It was perched precariously on a wall. When that wall was shattered, the cannon tumbled and broke. All the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put the giant weapon back together again. The fact is simpler, but the story endures. This war story is a modern invention, an exciting piece of folklore created centuries after the rhyme was first published as a simple riddle, with the answer being an egg. The power of the war story, however, makes it impossible to forget. Goosey Goosey Gander. The Search. But some rhymes are frighteningly accurate reflections of persecution. Consider Goosey Goosey Gander. Upstairs and downstairs and in my lady's chamber. This reads like a description of a frantic search. There I met an old man who wouldn't say his prayers, so I took him by the left leg and threw him down the stairs. This is widely believed to be a gruesome account of religious persecution following the Reformation. The old man could represent a Catholic priest hiding in a secret chamber, a priest hole, from Protestant searchers. His refusal to say Protestant prayers in English led to his violent end. The verse is a chilling, poetic snapshot of the real fear felt by those caught in England's religious turmoil. The thrilling theory links it to the beheadings of King Louis XVII. Jack broke his crown, and Queen Marie Antoinette. Jill came tumbling after, during the French Revolution. The truth in the time is less dramatic, but politically pointed. Historians find the rhyme predates the beheadings by decades. It is more likely a political satire from the 17th century, mocking an unpopular act by King Charles I. Jack and Gill were words for liquid measures. When the king reduced the volume of the Jack measure to increase taxes, it broke its crown, the marking on the cup. The Gill measure fell in volume right after it. Every rhyme we grew up with carries an echo of real events, be it the violent search for a priest, the fall of a tax, or the myth of a Civil War cannon. They are in their own right survivors of history. We began with innocent melodies, words that seemed harmless. But as we peeled back the layers, we found more than simple folklore. We found coded memories and persistent legends tied to real history. Clips flash, ring around the Rosie, London Bridge, Mary, Mary, Humpty Dumpty. We learned that the stories of the plague and the king's execution are compelling, though often unproven myths that people desperately wanted to believe. Yet, we also found real history. The genuine political satire about King Louis XVI and King Charles I. The true historical context of persecution and fear in rhymes like Goosey Goosey Gander, where the words likely preserved the memory of searching for a hidden priest. The simple reality that London Bridge truly did fall, collapse, and stand again countless times. Each rhyme was more than a story. It was survival. A way for people to pass down satire, warnings, or simply the memory of chaos without speaking it clearly. When you really think about it, these weren't always simple nursery rhymes. They were warnings and whispers. Coded memories from the corners of human history that the children of the day absorbed as easily as a game. And yet, we still sing them. Still laugh, still dance. Maybe that's what makes them timeless. A reminder that no matter how complex or dark our past, we find ways to keep its echo alive through story and song. So the next time you hear a child humming a nursery rhyme, remember the many stories those words might represent. And ask yourself, what secrets are we passing on today without even realizing it? If you've made it this far, thank you for exploring the shadows of history with me. Hit like if these hidden truths made you think twice, subscribe for more history and folklore, and comment which rhyme, legend, or myth you want uncovered next. Good night, and don't forget the words. The coded history of nursery rhymes. The echoes of the past endure,